Multiverse of Madness is number 31, 31 in the Marvel Cinematic Universe of movies. 31. I want you to remember that. 30, either 30 or 31. Remember that number. Very important. Because today is the 10th anniversary of the first Avengers movie. On May 4th, 2012. It was a Friday. I was down in Savannah at school. I just wrapped my senior film just about a week or two prior. I was done going into post-production, but I still had another whole quarter to do the post-production work. So I was like, you know what? We don't have school on Friday, that's sad. Guess what? The Avengers is out. It's time. And let me tell you, people, if you wanted to know a movie that was almost more important than the first Iron Man movie, to where if this movie does not work, if this movie fails, our entire Marvel Cinematic Universe is over. Our plans are done. Even though they were already shooting Iron Man 3, but that was it. Iron Man 3 was the only one shooting at that time, because it was going to be coming out a whole year later. So, if the Avengers did not work, we would not be where we are today. And the Avengers movie was number Iron Man 2, Hulk, Captain America, Thor. So, Avengers was number 6 in their MCU at that time. Number 6. We're at number 31. Think about how many movies have come out in 10 years. How many Marvel movies in just 10 years. And that was number 6, and we're on number 31 right now. Marvel's been busy. But going into this movie was great. You cannot ask for a better success story than that Phase 1. And the cap off Phase 1 with the Avengers. This movie was something we have never seen before. We have never seen superheroes coming together from their own properties, forming into one movie. Never been done. It was a risk. You had Iron Man, you had Thor, Captain America, Hulk, also bringing in Black Widow and Hawkeye. Not to mention, characters like Hulk, they had to recast Hulk, and they brought in Mark Ruffalo. No one knew if he was going to do good or not. We only remember Edward Norton at the time. Then you brought in Black Widow, who didn't have that great of a, in Iron Man 2, she was more sexualized. Joss Whedon came in and kind of reintroduced her in her opening scene. We never saw Hawkeye yet. Only that one brief 2 minutes in Thor. No, Jeremy Renner. We really didn't know what Jeremy Renner was going to be like as Hawkeye. Even Nick Fury showed up at the end of... He was in Iron Man 2, but we got more of him in the Avengers. And like Loki, the thing with Loki was, if you didn't see the first Thor movie, that's the one thing I think they kind of were iffy on in the Avengers movie, where they didn't really develop Loki. You're like, oh, we assume you saw Thor. So here's Loki, he's the brother of Thor. But, I mean, that third act climax battle in New York is still, in my opinion, the best battle sequence in any Marvel, and in any Avengers movie. Like, yeah, we got Avengers Endgame, with everyone coming together and all that. But I think the battle in New York was more satisfying and better. I mean, that, and also the Avengers movie was the best representation of Hulk we've gotten in any Marvel movie yet. Still the best line in that movie, or one of the best lines. There's a lot of great lines in that movie. But when Captain America turns to Hulk and says, "Hulk, smash!" And you see that big grin on Hulk's face, and then he just takes off and just starts smashing the Chitauri alien race and just going AWOL the rest of that movie. It was excellent. Everything we wanted to see in Hulk do. Never seen Hulk do like that. Finally. Then, when he grabs Loki and starts bringing him around, I mean, even Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr., great. Him and Pepper Potts and Agent Coulson. Hey, Pepper Potts. Hey, Phil. His name is Agent. Agent, not Phil. Who's Phil? Like I said, Nora's great. Loki's your brother. Did I mention we're adopted? He was adopted. Just some great lines. Great action, great battle. I mean, there is nothing wrong with... The only thing that's wrong with this movie is Captain America's outfit. For a comic book movie, and when you see Thor wearing what he's wearing in New York, somehow that looks great. But for whatever reason, the costume in Captain America, the costume for Steve Rogers in this movie looks so comic booky, cartoonish, and just doesn't look good. And it's not even the whole costume, it's like the headpiece that he wears. It just looks too comic booky. I mean, like when he takes it off and he's fighting, the rest of the costume looks fine. When it's the headpiece that I'm always like, that just looks too goofy. Too comic booky for this. But that's like my only gripe in the movie. I mean, like I said, Joss Whedon, I know now we don't look at Joss Whedon fondly anymore. But let me tell you, when he made that first Avengers movie and he knocked it out of the park, he was king at the time. He was like, this is the dude that should direct every comic book movie. And you gotta remember, this Avengers movie, it was not the biggest movie, the most anticipated movie to come out that summer. It was The Dark Knight Rises. The third Christopher Nolan Batman film was going to be coming out a little over 2 months later. That was the movie that everyone was hyped about. Not this Avengers movie, even though we already got the lead up with Iron Man 1, Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, Captain America the First Avenger, Thor. But most people were more hyped for The Dark Knight Rises. But guess what? At the end of the summer, the movie that won was The Avengers. So, I mean, like I said, this was a really, really fun summer blockbuster. Like, it reminded me of like that first Transformers. It was just fun, great, action, humor, entertaining from start to finish. Can't go wrong. Good soundtrack. Yeah, so if you have not watched The Avengers lately, even though I know we got a new Marvel movie coming out this week, go back and watch The Avengers. I mean, you will not be disappointed. I mean, for how many characters they had to juggle with that movie and bring them all together, it works. But yeah. And it also laid out some groundwork for the whole feud between Tony and Steve Rogers early on. Like, even in that first Avengers, there was already moments where they were already having tension and problems. So when you got into, like, Age of Ultron and then Civil War, it's like, yay, we already saw the beginning of that in the first Avengers movie. So, little stuff like that really went a long way for the rest of the MCU. But yeah, once again, if you have not watched the Avengers in a while, I highly recommend it. Either see it before Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, or wait till after. Maybe you just want to wait and go see Doctor Strange, and then go back over the weekend and watch the Avengers. Either way, it's one of the best Marvel movies. One of the movie that truly had everything riding on the line. That if this doesn't work, we're screwed. We are screwed. But it all worked out, and like I said, 10 years later, look how many Marvel movies we've had. If Doctor Strange is number 31 or 30, and the Avengers was number 6, they're doing pretty good. Pretty good. No other franchise, no other studio has been able to compete with Marvel. But they're doing all right. Not their best. No, just joking about that. Not their best. No, really. I would love to see DC get to Marvel at some point. We'll see.